What's good, everyone? In today's video, I will be covering all of the recent changes to Revenant from the Genesis Collection event, and this will be an updated Revenant guide. We will talk about his new hitbox and then get into the proper ways to use his passive, tactical, and ultimate. So whether you're brand new to playing Revenant or you've been playing him recently and want to get more familiar with him and his changes, this video will be for you. And at the end of the video, I will be giving you my take on if he is better or worse with these new changes. So stay tuned for that as well. Revenant has had 4 big changes from this update, so let's go over the first thing to discuss, his hitbox. Revenant got his hitbox buffed because they decreased the size of it, and as you'll see here in this image on the right is the updated hitbox. The main spots they decreased were the midsection, arms, and upper legs. Now this is a great change for Red because his hitbox has always been pretty janky since his release in Season 4, and I think a lot of people underestimate the significance of hitbox sizes in Apex. Now every legend has a different hitbox size, so this decrease for Revenant is a great move for him. Moving on to Revenant's passive, the Stalker. Revenant has 2 passives. The first one is the crouch walk, where he can crouch walk faster than any other legend. This ability is very situational, but can come in handy when you're trying to sneak up on your opponents because you do not create a lot of footstep audio when you're crouch walking. His second passive is the ability to climb higher than any other legend, and now it's not unlimited. He can certainly go very high and also create limited audio while doing so. Now this climb buff is Revenant's second change because previously the climb was not as significant as it is now. It would allow you to go 1 to 2 stories max, but now you could scale entire buildings. Here are some useful ways to use this passive. If someone is on height, like the zipline buildings in Fragment, always think about taking alternate angles to the roof by climbing. Unless opponents have line of sight on you, it should be the best way to surprise them and get the jump on them. But also be cautious when deciding to climb up. You're very vulnerable if you're trying to climb a high building with nothing to latch on and to reposition. If you're just aiming to get to the top and an opponent sees you, you're probably dead because it's a free kill. You're not going to be able to get your gun out, and if they hit their shots, it's a wrap. Now, after playing Revenant for the first few hours since this update, I can confidently tell you that this climb buff is insanely viable. At first, I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal, but I've been able to scale entire buildings or very tall rocks, whether you're in Skulltown, on Kings Canyon, or Capital City, on World's Edge. This passive is definitely a very good upgrade for Revenant. Before I get into Revenant's tactical, it would be amazing if you could smash the like button for me to help the YouTube algorithm push this video to more people. It's free and it would only take 1 second of your time. Alright, moving on to his tactical, the silence. Revenant has 2 silences and they basically time out your opponent's abilities if they've been hit by the silence. And once placed, they will last for 10 seconds. So even if you don't directly hit your opponent with it, they can still walk into the silence radius and take damage and also have their abilities removed for 15 seconds. The first 2 silences have no cooldown, but after the second, there is a 23-second cooldown for the third one, and then following with a 24-second cooldown for the fourth one. Now the third change to Revenant in this update is the decrease in silence time. So previously, if you silenced an opponent, they would be silenced for 20 whole seconds. It's now been decreased to 15 seconds. Really good Revenants know how viable his tactical is. If you hit a silence on your enemy during a critical moment in any given fight, it can easily be the thing that helps you win that fight. As all of you know, abilities play a pretty big role in Apex, so having this silence ability is really good. There have been plenty of late game scenarios where silencing 1 or 2 enemies really can help me win the game. Not to mention, the silence deals damage and has some pretty crazy audio and visual effects on your opponents. Silencing any legend is valuable, but for me, when I'm going into any given fight, I will be assessing what legends I'm going against and try to decide what legend could have the biggest effect by getting silenced. Legends like Gibby, Caustic, Wraith, Valkyrie can be a huge game changer. And just to be clear, anyone who didn't know, the silence will apply to your enemy's passive, tacticals, and ultimates. So for instance, on Gibraltar, it will eliminate his gun shield for that 15-second duration. Now let's get into Revenant's ultimate, the Death Totem. As I'm sure a lot of you guys know about the Totem, it's been increasingly more popular these last few seasons. It allows for you and your teammates to get a free push with 100 HP, and if you take 100 damage, you get sent back to the Totem minus 50 HP. Or if the death protection runs out, then you do not get sent back, and the Totem has no zone restrictions, so when paired with mobility legends like Octane and his jump pad, you can create a very unfair advantage by launching 100 meters while in death protection and just annihilate your enemies. Oftentimes they won't even be able to hear you coming as well. Now his totem has a 3-minute cooldown, and the fourth and final change to Revenant is the 30 seconds in death protection is now been reduced to 25 seconds. So it's a slight nerf to the totem, but overall it's a very healthy change for the game. The totem can be a very frustrating ability to fight against, and with no zone restrictions, I just think it's actually really fair that they reduce the time in death protection down to 25 seconds. Now in my experience solo queuing a ton, I see a lot of players struggle with the placement of the totem, and they put it in some pretty obvious spots. So when they go to totem push a team, they could end up potentially leaving the totem so that the enemy team can see it and destroy it, or even another enemy team could come along and do that, or camp the totem so when you guys get sent back, they just kill you for free. Revenant previously did take more calculation and IQ before the Octane Revenant meta was established, because now being able to travel such large distances in death protection, you don't really have to worry about totem placement as much as before. So the best ways to place the totem are in inconspicuous areas where opponents won't have line of sight on it, and so some good spots are corners, behind cover, places like that. Don't just place it in the middle of the street for the whole lobby to see it. The other thing I see while playing with randoms who use Revenant is they don't understand when to use the totem. I think some people are catching on more so now that Revenant is more in the meta, but to be clear, if you have the totem available and you're about to take a fight, you should just use it. It will increase your chances of winning that fight as opposed to not using it and rolling the dice and potentially losing that fight. Understand though that if you're not pairing Revenant with a mobility legend, like Octane let's say, you should definitely try to use the totem for a fairly up close fight, because now that the protection only lasts 25 seconds, that will run up quicker than you actually think it will. And oftentimes one or two of your teammates will get sent back, but the other one won't, so they could be overextended in a potential 3v1, and then the totem push basically backfired. This is a common problem I see among a lot of inexperienced Revenants. So being conscious of the timer, not only for yourself, but for your teammates as well. And here's a little trick. If you're the last one to use the totem, and you're usually the last one who ends up being stuck out there with the protection ending, if you feel like you're overexposed, but the enemy won't have an angle on you, you can always throw a grenade at yourself to take that 100 damage and get sent back to the totem. Now for the answer to, is Revenant better or worse with this update? And the answer is, I think he is better. Not only is he better for himself and his teammates, but it's much healthier for the game in my opinion. I really value the fact that they decreased his hitbox and improved his passive, but took away some of the unfairness to his tactical, and more specifically his ultimate. I think he's still going to be a very frustrating legend to go against, and a big reason for that is because of the audio in Apex, or lack thereof. It's very frustrating when you get Revenant Octane pushed in a ranked game with zero audio and have no idea where they even came from. And I know Respawn was worried about nerfing Rev too much by putting the zone restriction back on his totem, and I know it's still early, but this seems like a solid middle ground for Revenant. And Revenant will definitely continue to stay in the meta if they keep him like this. So all in all, I think it's a very good change for Revenant and the game. Also, what do you guys think of this new heirloom? I mean, it's pretty dope, right? Let me know what you think about it down in the comments. Alright guys, if you made it this far, thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll subscribe with notifications on. I will catch you on the next video. Peace.